Hey guys, I'm trying to get this hat adjusted where I don't know what is going on with it, but it seems to be sliding forever sideways. I may need to tighten it up in the back, but I did finally get my patch on for this. So I am going to wear the hat as long as I can. I know Steve has his captain's hat on sometimes and he wears it as long as he can. Hey, 71. Looks like we got about five in here. I only see 71 in the chat, but as I always say, that is not a requirement for my streams. That you be active in the chat. You can just come in here and listen or whatever you want to do. Um, yeah, I don't know. This thing is. I mean, it was seeming to fit me right, but I don't have a. I'm not like my brother, and I'm not like Steve says he is. So I don't have a large head. Um, I have a small head. I take after my dad. Um, so I'm trying to. Thank you, X-ray. I'm just trying to adjust it a little bit because I think it's a little bit. I don't think it's. I think it's too loose on my head, is what I think. Now I may have made it too tight. Um, Sorry to be taking this time. I should have done this before I got on here. Um, but um, but it just seems like it's a little crooked. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm trying to get, or it may be a certain way I'm holding my um head or something because I have a bad habit of tilting on my head when I'm just sitting here talking, but it just seems like the hat itself is tilted. Does it look tilted to you guys when you're looking at it on the camera? I'm just trying to look at it, and now there's a string of hair that is hanging down that's driving me nuts. So I don't know how long this hat's gonna. So it looks right, and then a certain way it looks like it slides and doesn't look right. So, um, but thank you for saying it's a cute hat, X-ray. No, these hats are currently not available in the Etsy store. This was just a hat that I made for myself. Um, and I forgot to plug in my light, so I may have to plug in the little light here, the little astronaut light, just so Brandon can knock it over, I guess. Um, and This was just like I said, this was just a hat I created. I just lost my whole train of thought there. I made this hat just so I would have another hat to wear because I do have like a pre-printed hat that says first mate on it, which is the original hat um, that I used. And I liked it for a while and then I got out of wearing it. But then I thought, why don't I get something more personalized to my channel? Um, so I just thought, well, I'm not really finding a hat that has exactly what I want on it. So I really wanted a pink hat. So I got this pink hat that I like the style of it. And I got some patches, but the patches are kind of too big for me to put very many on. I may put one more patch on here that looks like Ash from like um, Army of Darkness, pretty much. And I may put that on there. And then I'm supposed to be getting in a patch that is custom made that I had Evil Dead check in script lettering that I'm planning to put somewhere on the hat. And I may be able to put like something that says the Evil Dead on the back of the hat. Of course, you guys won't see it while I'm doing these streams. And then I've got some buttons coming that I'll probably finish decorating the hat with. But Sue said, yeah, when you're having the witch hair, that's what he calls it when my hair is kind of messed up and it's got curly cues and sticking out. Um, he says, you can wear that hat when you've got witch hair and we got to go out somewhere. And I said, yeah, but you're not going to want me wearing this hat with all this horror junk on it. And he didn't say anything. So we'll see. I'll try wearing it out next time I'm having a bad hair day and see what he says about that. X-Ray, you say maybe you and B Plane should swap hats. You wear the captain's hat and he wears that one. There's probably no way I'd get Steve to wear this pink hat. I highly doubt it. X-Ray, you say you should send 2 of those hats to Danielle Harris and Scout Taylor Ham and Egg Compton after Jamie Lee Activia made them both cry. Oh man. That's an idea though, isn't it? But anyway, we're down to 4, so I must have really bored some people talking about my hat. So I hope some of you like the hat. I don't know how long this hat's going to be in use, even during this stream, because after a while it starts, rubbing against my hair and against my forehead, and then it starts aggravating me, and then I know it's time to take it off. But I will wear it as long as I can. But anyway, we're going to cover another couple of movies tonight for Cheese Extreme Wednesday. And again, I'm not planning on this being very long. I've been, continuing to plug at it, looking for jobs. I had another phone interview today, and they want to set up a Teams chat type of interview next week. They're supposed to email me a link for that or information for that. I haven't gotten it yet, but I would assume it's forthcoming. So that particular job, in case anybody cares, is working for smile doctors who are pretty much orthodontists. But I would be doing the help desk side of it. Of course, I'm not going to be doing any kind of dental stuff. And it pays about $20 an hour, which is just a little bit less I was making at my soon to be former employer. And so I'm happy with that. You get your health insurance and all that good stuff, health and dental. And he told me maybe vision insurance. And what I kind of liked about this phone interview is the fact that the IT manager was the one that talked to me. And I know that might sound like, whoa, Dana, that's intimidating that the IT manager, you talk to the IT manager during your initial phone interview. But really, that shows me that he really cares about who they might be getting on, in that job position. He's not just shoving it off on some kind of recruiter or somebody else on his team. And then this stuff comes back to him and he has to make choices. He's being an active participant in this process, which I admire that. I really do admire that. And it could be that he's just a control freak too. But I tend to admire that more when the person that you're really going to have to answer to is the one that makes these initial steps. Well, traditionally, 71, when I have had phone interviews, they have called me. But this time the guy gave me his number and asked me to call him. So he said anytime after 1:30 Central Time, which was 2:30 our time, Eastern Time. So I called at about 2:35, you know. Um, and you say, oh, that's a good thing. And they must have looked at your resume. Yeah, but what I thought was funny is he must have not looked at it very good, or he was testing me because he saw my website experience where I built websites and stuff like that. He said, well, you got a lot of website experience. He said, but this is the help desk position. Do you have help desk experience? I said, oh, yeah, I got 7 years. And he's like, oh, okay. And, he, I guess, made notes or whatever. And something else that I thought, he's an IT manager. He has to know what Duo is because I had experience with Duo. And he said, what's Duo? And I think he might have been testing me to see if I knew my stuff, to see if I knew what I was talking about, or I was just putting stuff down on a resume to make it look good. Um, but I explained to him, and he made more notes and all that. And he was impressed that I had had some experience with Cisco AnyConnect because they're just getting ready to start using that. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how after I have my team's interview next week, how that goes. 71, you said that's good, and you say, I think this might be a job possibility. I'm thinking too, but Steve says, excuse me, Steve says, don't, get too excited because then you'll get disappointed if they don't hire you. I said, yeah, I know, Steve. I'm trying not to get too wound up about any of these interviews until I actually hear the words, you have the job. You know what I mean? And I'm trying my best not to do that, but this is kind of this is probably the most desperate situation I've ever been in as far as needing to get a job. Um, because, I'm into my second week of this leave that Stockyards has given me, and I really, really want to get something so I can just say, and that next to last week before they're going to terminate me, say, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, I got me another job. I'm quitting. So that way they don't get the pleasure of firing me. Because I told Steve, I said, I have never been fired from any job ever. And I guess it's a pride thing, and I know you're not supposed to be prideful, but I can't help it. I just don't want to be fired. I don't want to be fired. I just don't, and I'm not putting anybody down that's ever been fired because it happens to the best of us. And but I just in 26 years of employment, I have never been fired from any job. And I may have been reprimanded here and there or other things have come up, but I've never been fired. Any job that I've left has pretty much been of my own decision. Um, you say yes, but keep looking, the right one will show up. Yeah, I just keep plugging away at those applications. I put in several applications every single day. And some of these places, I'm like, well, shit, I didn't want to work for you anyway because it's like, I know some of them were probably covered up with applications and they really don't have time to go over everyone, and so they kind of have to send those little form letters out, we decide to go in another direction, or mark that you were not selected by the employer if you're putting them in on Indeed and you go to check your applications that you put in. But like some of these, there were like 3 today that within an hour of me putting in the application, they said not selected. And they made me go through those stupid assessments and things like that. It's like, dude, if you're not gonna, even consider me, then don't make me go through these assessments and get those jobs out of there. If you've already got somebody you think is going to work, don't put people through this. Don't put people through this that are trying to feverishly to look for a job. Interesting hat, eh? Yeah, you like the hat, Red? You said, would that be crazy if everyone from Dead Pit Radio had camouflage hats? Well, considering the fact that I know CK and Uncle Bill personally, it would be kind of crazy because I couldn't imagine them wearing camouflage hats, and I definitely could not see my husband wearing a camouflage hat. I don't know about Garrett. If he would or not. That would be something somebody'd have to ask. 71, you say, yeah, it's not a good thing. Yeah, not when they do that. Not when they go that route. So anyway, we're back up to 5 now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the movies and keep my hat on as long as I can keep it on. Hey, Milelect. So we're going to start with the first one, which is The Slayer. And I don't know how many of you have heard of The Slayer. I had never heard of it until right around the time that Arrow put it out. And then I started hearing things about it being a slasher film and all that stuff. But, honestly, guys, I think of it as more of a monster film than a slasher film. Of course, that's my opinion. And some of you might watch this and think, well, yeah, it is kind of slasher film. But a little plot synopsis for this, and then I'm going to go into why I think it's cheesy. And then briefly, we'll talk about that and then move on to the second one. 71, you say you've never heard of it. Yeah, I had never heard of it either, like I said, until right before Arrow Video put it out in this Blu-ray. So this is one of the most sought after titles, supposedly, for slasher fans everywhere. The Slayer finally rises from the ashes of obscurity in a brand new 4K transfer from Arrow Video. In this chilling classic, two young couples set off to a secluded island for what promises to be a restful retreat. But the peace is short-lived as a storm begins to batter the island. Troubled artist Kay senses a malevolent presence in their midst, stalking them at every turn. Is she losing her mind, or are her childhood nightmares of a demonic assailant coming to terrifying life? Slashed by the UK censors and mercilessly truncated in the US, The Slayer, whose nightmares sleeping into reality theme predates a certain Wes Craven classic by several years, comes lovingly restored from the long-lost negative in a stunning transfer that will be a revelation to fans both old and new. Now, in my opinion, that's pretty high praise for this movie. Because, guys, I've seen it maybe a couple of times since I got it. But to me, it's not all it's cracked up to be in that representation, okay? It's not the worst movie out there, but number one, I don't think of it as a slasher movie. Number two, comparing it to Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street, which I know is what they were doing, there's no comparison there. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a much better movie than this one. But, again, that's the purpose of these companies, is to sell movies or to sell product. And they cannot sell the product unless they make it look good. So they have guys or gals or, a mixture of both, I guess, to write these things for these movies. And so I think that was most definitely the case with this movie, because The acting is not that good. The story, it's not like it's unique or anything like that. Um, it may have been considered unique at the time. I mean, they said it predated A Nightmare on Elm Street, but I never heard Wes Craven mention this as like an inspiration for him to do A Nightmare on Elm Street. I've seen several interviews with Wes Craven, and I don't think he ever mentioned the Slayer. Um, so even though it predates A Nightmare on Elm Street, I really don't consider it a Nightmare on Elm Street type of movie. I mean, it has to do with nightmares, yes, but it's not even on the same level. Um, that this entity or whatever that is uh, surrounding these people or surrounding Kay is not like Freddy at all. It's more, like I said, a creature, a demon, a monster, not a guy who was a pedophile and a child murderer who was burned and comes back to haunt kids' dreams. So, um, yeah, just no comparison really to me with A Nightmare on Elm Street. So like I said, the acting is not great. The story really is not that great. I mean, usually you don't hear me like putting down these movies. These are Cheese Extreme Wednesday movies. Um, but this actually was one that excuse me, sorry. That um I was a little bit sorry I spent the money on it because from the description I was expecting a little bit of a different type of movie than I actually got. And I was expecting it to be a little bit better made, a little bit better acted, all of those things. Um, and perhaps I'm being too harsh on it. Like I said, I've only watched it a couple of times since I got it. And perhaps I need to just, stick it back in the Blu-ray player. Oh, goodness. First the sneezing, then the yawning. But perhaps I need to give it another try. Like I said, maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on it. Um, I don't know if there's any of you in the chat tonight that have seen it. I know 71 said that she had not seen it. But Menelect or Red or maybe some people that are in here that haven't chatted, if you want to just put in there, yeah, I've seen it and I think this about it. Or not. You don't have to. But I would just really like to be able to judge if maybe I'm being a little too harsh on this movie. I'd love for Darren to be in here because um, he's from the UK and this was heavily censored in the UK. And now Arrow has put it out, which primarily Arrow is a UK distributor of movies and has allowed a lot of the residents of the UK to be able to watch things that once were censored heavily or outright banned. Menelect, you say a couple of times of watching is enough to judge movies. You think so, Menelect? Some people wouldn't think so. Some people would say, maybe you need to just chill out a little bit, Dana, and watch it again. 71, you say you might look into it. As I always say, though, 71, make sure you can try to find a for free version because I really, with any of these movies, even if I praise it to the heavens, I don't want anybody spending money until they're sure that this movie is going to be something that they're going to enjoy for years to come, that you're going to watch it multiple times, because that's the only way you're going to get your money's worth out of something. I mean, like you say, you've never seen it. And of course, there are an abundance of extras. One other thing I wanted to bring up, I remember the lead actress, the one who plays Kay, to be sort of annoying and, one of those characters that kind of grates on your nerves a little bit. And when your main character is like that, it's kind of hard to get behind the movie at all. I thought I should warn you guys about that too. She seems overly hysterical at some points, and a whiny crybaby. And when they're overly like that in a movie, it just turns me completely off. Um, so I just wanted to throw that in there too. Um, so these are director approved special edition contents that are on this Arrow release. So you get a brand new restoration from a 4K scan of the original camera negative. Um, you only get original mono audio. You get audio commentary with writer and director J.S. Cardone, actress Carol Cottonbrook, and executive in charge of production Eric Weston. And I'm not sure if that's the same Eric Weston that directed Evil Speak or not. I would have to look that up. Moderated by Ewan Cant, audio commentary with The Hysteria Continues, which would definitely, if you do end up buying it, I would definitely listen to The Hysteria Continues commentary. Isolated score selections and audio interview with composer Robert Folk. Nightmare Island, The Making of the Slayer, documentary featuring interviews with J.S. Cardone, Carol Cottonbrook, Eric Weston, producer William Ewing, director of photography Karen Grossman, camera operator and second unit DOP and still photographer Arledge Arminaki, special creature and makeup effects creator Robert Short, and Slayer performer Carl Cranes. Return to Tybee, the locations of the Slayer feature revisiting the shooting locations on Tybee Island, Georgia. The Tybee Post Theater experience. Join the audience of the Tybee Post Theater, one of the film's key locations, for this very special hometown screening of The Slayer. Includes event introduction, feature-length audience reaction track, and post-screening Q&A with Arledge Arminaki and Ewan Cant, a still gallery, and an original theatrical trailer. And by the way, this is also not rated, and that's The Slayer. Texas, you say, been watching on the TV because I was eating dinner. Yes, I have seen it on the Arrow channel. So, by seeing it, did you just see that it was on there, or did you actually watch it, Texas? Because I was kind of curious about other people that had seen it, what they thought of it. Okay, so you watched it. So, what'd you think of it, Texas? I like to get other opinions on here, from other people that have seen it. Because I always like people not to just take Dana's word for everything, to get a variety of opinions. But I'm going to go ahead, and if Texas puts an answer in there, okay, here we go. Texas, you said it was okay. From what I remember, it was kind of wacky. Yeah. I guess that's the way I would feel about it. It's just okay. But it's one of the few that I'm not real happy that I spent money on it. If that makes any sense. So moving right along to our second movie is one that I like a lot better than The Slayer, but it's still cheesy in parts, and that's the Slumber Party Massacre. And you can see the driller killer there. Sorry for the glare. This is a steel book that I got, sadly, from Screen Factory, guys. And I also got the Russ Thorn figure that I'm not gonna grab it, but it maybe I'll get it down at some point. But anyway, I got the steel book, a Blu-ray, and I also got the Russ Thorn figure. Um, but this is a movie that I have always enjoyed from my early video rental days. And Texas, you say I got that steelbook from Scheme Fuckery. um, but I remember, I guess, the first time I ever saw the cover art on the VHS for this was I was attending a slumber party at one of my friends' houses. And we were probably all of 11, 12, maybe. And I remember seeing the traditional cover for this, which is what is on the movie poster. And if anybody's seen my promotion for the stream, you'll know what I'm talking about. The driller killer standing over these girls with a great big drill, and it says the Slumber Party Massacre. When I saw that at that age, I was like, man, I want to get this movie. Of course, my friend's mom would not let us get that for the slumber party. She thought that was a little risque for us at that age, so I didn't get to see it then. And I'm thinking I saw it a second time before the actual third time that I ended up being able to rent it. And I thought that was the time I was with my cousin Heather and my Aunt Pam. And my Aunt Pam was not like my Aunt Sandy. She was my Aunt Sandy's sister and my mom's sister, but nothing like the two of them. Like, my mom at that time liked these slasher movies and stuff like that. Sandy also did. And so if I had been with either of them, I would have been able to rent it. But unfortunately, at that time, I was with my Aunt Pam and Heather. So Heather was always terrified of horror movies at that point in time. And so that got nixed really early on. And we could not rent it then either. And I can't remember exactly. I'm thinking that I probably did finally end up renting it on one of the trips to the video rental store with my Aunt Sandy. Because at that point in time, I used to go to her house all the time and watch movies with her. And sometimes my Uncle Scotty would be there, and we would all watch them. But a lot of times Scotty was, doing other, man related things, hunting or something like that. And he wasn't there, or he was working, or, doing something, where he was out of the house. And so a lot of times it was just me and Sandy watching them. But Red, you say, I heard that was another movie similar to Nightmare on Elm Street during the 80s or 70s. If you're talking about the Slayer, yeah, I mean, that was actually kind of mentioned on the back of the case, but I didn't really think it was similar to Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm not going to rehash that, but if you didn't hear that, Red, and want to go back later and watch what I said about that, that's fine. Um, but so I finally got to watch this, and I mean, this was classic slasher movie stuff for me. This is what I was into at the time. And so, probably the reason why I still like this movie after all those years is, again, the nostalgia factor for it. The feeling that you got when you watch this stuff. And sometimes you get a little bit of that feeling back when you watch it, even when you're older. And now that, I'm no longer a 12-year-old girl, I'm a 46-year-old woman. Sometimes it's good to do that. Sometimes it's good to feel like you did when you were 12 or 13 or whatever. And some people say, nah, no, 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 no. I don't want to go back to that time period, or I don't want to feel like I did at that time period. But guys, at that time period, I didn't have any worries. I didn't have any stress. I didn't have any depression. Those were great times. I mean, at least as far as I'm concerned, but I had a good upbringing. I had a good childhood. Some people had traumatic childhoods and they don't want to go back to that time period and they don't want to think about it. And I get that. But thankfully, I had a really good childhood filled with good memories for the most part. Um, I had some bad memories. There were deaths in the family and different things that we don't like to think about. But for the most part, I had good parents. They treated me well. I was always taken care of. I never had to fend for myself. Um, and I know some kids did. They just basically had nobody. And and I had a brother who's 6 years younger than me. That even though we had our fights along the way and over the years, we were close then, we're close now. Um, and I'm thankful every day for my brother. And I'm thankful every day for my parents. Because without all of them, who knows what would have happened to me. So I'm thankful every day that I had that kind of experience growing up. And I'm able to look back on it fondly. But I realize that not a lot of people, not everybody had that same experience growing up. So you may not have that nostalgia factor. You may say, I just want to block all of that out. But me, on the other hand, that was a golden time for me. It was truly a golden time. 71, you say, I feel between the ages of bratty 6 and 18. Like I saw. Oh, I was bratty at sometimes too. Oh, thank you, TJ. I actually finally finished the patch on it. And here's the thing, TJ. I had it to the side and I was like, and it was up too high so that you really couldn't see the skull and where it says Evil Dead. And I was like, dang. So I decided to rip all the stitching out and push it down a little bit more towards the brim of the hat or whatever, and in the middle. And so then I just redid all the stitching last night and finished it up. And I was like, I really want to be able to wear this hat on my next stream. And like I told everybody earlier, TJ, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to wear it. It may have to eventually come off. But thank you for saying nice hat. And Brandon's back here. Um, so the Slumber Party Massacre, the story of Slumber Party Massacre, now that I gave you a little bit of background on my initial watching experience with it, um, it basically, I mean, it's not a complicated story. Red Thorn escapes from prison or the mental hospital or wherever he was at because years ago he killed a bunch of people with a drill and was incarcerated. So of course he escapes, um, kills a telephone repair woman, takes her van, ends up in this neighborhood where these girls are going to have a slumber party, and continues his killing spree, I guess is the best way you would say it. Not a complicated plot at all. Now, are there cheesy moments in this? Of course, there are cheesy moments in this, or I wouldn't have it on a Cheese Extreme Wednesday. I mean, some of the acting is not the greatest. You do have Brink Stevens in an early scene. For you guys, and I guess lesbian chicks, will get to see a lovely or several lovely shots of girls in the shower after a basketball game, including the lovely Brink Stevens. So, and I say she's lovely because I do think she's lovely. Even in her older age, I think she's lovely. Some people may not. But I think she was a very attractive woman in her younger days, very petite, brunette, just, and this is a straight woman saying this. I mean, I'll admit, Brink Stevens was a fine looking woman. And she's not bad to look at now. I'm just saying, if you want to look at young, nubile flesh, there's your chance. Yeah. TJ, you said that pizza was cheesy for sure. It sure was. Yes, you are right, TJ. Michelle Bauer was naked, a naked background character in the shower scene. So not only do you get to see Brink Stevens, you get to see Michelle Bauer as well. Who Steve's a huge fan of Michelle Bauer, especially young Michelle Bauer. I've never met Michelle Bauer, but me and Steve did meet Brink Stevens several years ago at Cinema Wasteland, I think, and she was very, very sweet and nice. There's a picture of us with her. Um, so, yeah, not a lot of meat for a story, but guys, for God kills people with a drill. What else could we possibly want? And we got that cheesy pizza, right? As TJ mentioned. Um, and you have you have these lines such as the I don't know, I just find them amusing. Like for instance, when the girls are talking about the slumber party and there's two guys, um, Jeff and Neil, I think, that are the ultimate 80s horn dogs in a slasher movie. And all they want to do is see chicks naked and talk about them and all this stuff. But before I get to that, though, I want to tell you, what's funny about these guys being the ultimate horn dogs and lusting after girls all the time? Both of those actors turned out to be gay later on. Just like, and the another guy who is in the scene where the girls are playing basketball um became a woman, I believe. Changed his name and all of that. So I just find that hilarious. Every time I think about it, it's like, and perhaps those two guys, the ones that played Neil and Jeff, or Jeff and Neil, however you want to say it, um, perhaps they were gay then. I don't know. Um, but I just find it hilarious. The ultimate horn dogs in some 80s slasher movie turn out to be gay later in life. I don't know. That just is funny to me. But anyway, when they're coming out of the school and they're all talking about it, and Jeff and Neil really want to come to the slumber party, and Trish tells them, "Well, one small problem: you guys weren't invited." And he's like, "Trish, that's never stopped us before." Blah blah blah. And and one of the girls says, "Hey guys, I got provisions for the party tonight," and I believe Neil says, "What's provisions?" And Jeff says, no dose, crystal meth. And then, right when he says that, which is a funny line to me anyway, I don't know why really, but it just funny, the way he says it. They're all walking past the dumpster, and you see the freshly killed phone repair woman in the dumpster. And no, of course, nobody notices. But And then there's the scene where, um, as Texas says, the pizza man with no eyes. The pizza man gets his eyeballs drilled out by the driller killer. Um, and the girls are, they're clearly afraid. There's three of them that are clearly afraid. And or supposedly, and the pizza is on top of the dead pizza guy with no eyes. And Kim, one of the girls, says, "Oh, he's so cold," and uh, one of the other girls says, uh, "Is the pizza?" And she said, and the other girls are looking at her like, the other two are looking at her like, "What in the hell is wrong with you?" And she says, "Well, when I feel bad, um, I want to eat and I get hungry, and boy, do I feel bad." And she just opens up the pizza box and just starts eating a big old slice of pizza. And the other girls are like, they're clearly sickened. So you have a lot of those just little quirky, wacky, cheesy uh, things thrown in there. And And actually, yeah, TJ brings up a good point here. He says, part one is great. Love part two better, even more cheesy. And trust me, we're going to talk about part two. Will probably be next Wednesday. So you can look forward to that, TJ. Rock and Roll Chick meets Freddie Presley. uh, 71, you say, when you're hungry, you're hungry. Even if there's a eyeless pizza guy laying there. I guess so. Uh, yeah, she does say that. I think when she's getting ready to take a bite or something like that, she says, life goes on after all. And it's like totally not bothering her at all. Yes. Um, just cover them up. Yeah. Uh, but you just have a lot of those different things thrown in. Another thing that I think is funny, and you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong or you think I'm wrong on this, but the basketball scene near the beginning of the film where the girls are supposed to be basketball players, they're supposed to be on the basketball team. There is no way that these girls are basketball players for high school or otherwise, because they are the awfulest bunch of basketball players I've ever seen. And I'm not saying this because they're girls. There are good girl basketball players. Um, that's why we have women's teams. But these girls, obviously, the way they dribble the ball, the way they shoot the ball, all of that is not good. It's not good. And it's obvious that they are not part of a basketball team. TJ, yeah, it might be the only slasher with three final girls. Yeah. Um, which brings up another thing about this movie. Not really a cheesy part of it, but since TJ brought up the three final girls thing, actually, we have the inclusion of Valerie and her younger sister who live next door to Trish or across the street from Trish or something like that. And Valerie is a very attractive girl, but I guess she kind of keeps to herself. Maybe it's kind of shy and reserved. And Diane, one of Trish's friends, is kind of a rich, snobby, bitchy girl. And so Trish says, I think we ought to invite Valerie to the slumber party. And Diane's like, I thought it was just for the gang, like old times. And she says, it is, it is. Um, but I still think we should invite her. And so Diane starts saying some really nasty things about Valerie. Um, that she works at it. When the girls say it wouldn't have anything to do with how good a basketball player she is or how pretty she is, and she said she works at it. Do you ever see how perfect her eyeliner is? And says things like she drinks too much milk, um and I don't like people I have to get to know. It's not my fault she transferred here. And so Valerie's on the other side of the lockers from the girls, and they don't realize that. Diane probably wouldn't give a shit if she knew. But she hears the conversation with the girls, and she hears what Diane is saying, and it hurts her feelings, and she's pretty much crying and stuff. And she tries to run out of there, and right around that time, Trish comes around the corner, and she's like, I'm having a few girls over. Would you like to come over for a slumber party? And she's like, I'm sorry, Trish, I can't. I can't. And she just leaves. And at that point, Trish knows that she heard the conversation going on. And of course, Diane again doesn't give a shit because she tells the girls she said she heard. And Diane's just like, big deal. She don't care. Um, hey, Darren. Yes, TJ. I actually was going to bring that up. Rip Robin Steele, love her as Babs and Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bowl-orama. Yeah, Robin Steele or Robin Rochelle was the other name that she went under. I heard that she committed suicide at a pretty young age. And she left behind, I'm guessing, a husband and two twin boys. I don't know really any specifics other than the death was due to suicide, which I think is so sad, because she was such a beautiful girl. And I really think that she had the talent to go from these kind of cheesy horror movies into something more. And then I feel sad that she didn't really get that opportunity or that chance to do it. Um, and although I think that the character of Babs is is a fun character, I prefer her character as Valerie in Slumber Party Massacre just because that's more of a good girl role. And although she could encompass both of those roles, I just like the role of Valerie better. And she was tough when she needed to be in the Slumber Party Massacre. And no part of her talent I feel was wasted in that movie. Um, which you guys might disagree with me. I think her talent as an actress was a little bit wasted in the character of Babs. Um, but feel free to tell me I'm wrong on that. It won't hurt my feelings at all. Um, Middle Age, you said final girls. Few use the term final guy. Yeah, you are right, Middle Age. Yeah, 34. She passed away in 96. That was 2 years after I graduated from high school. Uh, 34 is too young, guys. Too young. And there have been lots of rumors over the years about what led to her death, what led to her suicide. Uh, it's been said that she had an alcohol problem. Um, I don't know if drugs was ever mentioned, but it may have been, but definitely alcohol was mentioned. Um, but the director of Slumber Party Massacre actually said that she had no indication that Robin still had any sort of problem. She said she seemed to be a very well adjusted girl. So I don't know. The poor girl's not, or woman is not around to defend herself anymore. So we may never know the full story about that. So, um, yes, I would definitely recommend the Slumber Party Massacre more than I would the Slayer, but I am not going to discourage anybody from watching either one as long as, if you don't already own them, that you watch it for a free version first. And, I think Slumber Party Massacre is something that you can find on Tubi and stuff like that. Um, it may even be on Shutter or YouTube or something like that, some other outlet um, like that. So, guys, I told you I was going to make it quick, and I did. Um, I only went on about an hour total with all this stuff. So, I can stay on here a few minutes more if you guys want to talk about anything or bring up anything about these two movies, or, you know, um, just comment on different things, or that is fine. TJ, you said there's a brief moment in Sorority Babes before she's possessed where she's not just a bitchy character showing a little emotional change. You are right about that, TJ. But she is more likable as Valerie. Um, but people sometimes consider the bitchy characters to be more fun. And I get that. Um, I until there was something about her hair and everything in that movie that I'm like, I almost can't believe it's the same girl. I mean, I know it's the same girl, but she almost looked like she had a major change between the two movies. Um, I don't know really what that change was, or what kind of change caused, the change in her appearance and all of that. Um, I can't really say demeanor because she was acting during all that, but I just I don't know. She was so beautiful in Slumber Party Massacre, and it's like, what in the world, did she just bleach out her hair, or did she dye her hair for Slumber Party Massacre? Because I think she looks a lot better with darker hair than that bleached out blonde look. But a lot of times I get told, well, Dana, that's her natural hair color or something. They dyed it for another movie. But, and I'm not sure how old she was in Sorority Girls, um, or Sorority Babes, I mean. Um, but I thought she looked haggard in that movie. Something was going on during that movie that more than likely was not going on when Slumber Party Massacre was made. TJ says she's better than the blonde chick in Friday 7, The New Blood. Don't even know why she was with that friend group, huh? But people like her in her white pants. LOL. Yeah, I never did like that chick in Friday 7. Um, Slumber Party Massacre is a good solid slasher. I really like the Slayer. It's a slow burn, but I really dig its atmosphere. And I'm glad, Darren, that you brought up the fact that the Slayer is a slow burn. Because maybe that's what, maybe I just need to give it another try. That's why I said a little bit earlier, maybe I'm a little too harsh on this movie. And I need to, give it another watch. Um, and maybe I need to get more into the atmosphere part of it as well. That's why I'm glad you're in here, Darren, because I kind of wanted another perspective, um, especially someone from the UK where the Slayer was heavily censored and stuff originally. And now you guys get to see it in all its glory. It was even censored in the United States as well. And this version put out by Arrow, of course, is not rated. Um, so I'm definitely going to give it another try at some point. TJ, you say she was 26, 27 in Sorority Babes, and yeah, looked like a wig to me. Yeah, and it could have been, but it just wasn't. If it was a wig, it wasn't becoming to her. TJ, you say you need to see the Slayer. Now, I tell you, TJ, I always say this, right? Find a for free version. Don't go out. Please don't go out and buy it because based on what I say or don't say or whatever, I don't want anybody spending their money until they're sure that this is going to be something that they're going to watch multiple times and enjoy each one of those times that they watch it. If not, I would rather them watch a for free version of it and decide before they spend any money that, well, maybe this is not my cup of tea. And I'm not going to spend money on it. Darren, you say, yeah, we only had a crappy VHS and DVD release. To see the Arrow version was like seeing it for the first time. Let me ask you this, Darren. Do you consider The Slayer to be a slasher movie, though? Because that's pretty much how it's marketed. And I didn't really see it as a slasher movie per se. I would just like to get another opinion on it. All those people who blind purchase the monsters. Yeah. So probably I'll stay on here for another about 4 minutes before I get off of here because, like I've said before, or actually 3 minutes now, um, usually these Cheese Extreme Wednesdays, I'm covering a couple of movies. I don't like to stay on here blabbing on and nauseum forever. Okay. Um, but I do like to give you guys something to go on. I don't like to get on here for 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, and then say, "Oh, bye, guys." I'm getting off here. Um, so you see it as a slasher film, okay? Just you saying that definitely means that I am going to have to go back and watch this because there must be something I'm missing there. Must be something I'm missing there. Oh, great, TJ. You say Slayer's on YouTube. I'll check it on there first. Because Darren, maybe I'm seeing or missing something where the creature or somebody is actually using implements to slash. And maybe I'm just forgetting about that somewhere along the way. So I'm definitely going to give this one another try. Because I mean, it's not like it's super long. It's 90 minutes. Can you imagine? Well, Darren could probably tell us, how long or how short the DVD and the VHS was. If this is the uncut version and it runs 90 minutes. I mean, that was, if they cut a bunch out, there probably wasn't a whole lot left. Um, so I did want to remind everybody again that I'll probably be doing a few things here and there the remainder of the week. Saturday, I am still planning on going to Scarefest. Um, and we're just going, it's just going to be a day trip for a few hours in Lexington, then we're going to come back home. So I should be back in plenty of time to have my trick or treat watch along around 7-ish p.m. Eastern time. So again, if anybody is interested in being on live on the stream with me for that watch along, just let me know and I will send you the link. That way I can add you whenever I do the stream Saturday evening. Darren, you said the cut version was probably only a few minutes from memory. I got you. So maybe you weren't missing that much. But I am going to give it another try. Darren, you said there's loads of YouTubers going to Scarefest. Well, I know, I don't know if John, Movie Junkie John, considers himself a YouTuber per se, but he's going, and Ratkins, who I believe is a YouTuber, is going with him to Scarefest. So I look forward to seeing those two guys on Saturday. One thing I did notice is that usually Steve tells me the vendors aren't real good at Scarefest. But I did notice that Orbit DVD is going to be a vendor there. And I hear CK talking about Orbit DVD a lot. Um, I think he's either ordered things or actually went there and got things. So I'm kind of curious to see what they have at their table. And the only person I'm really considering going up and meeting per se is Michael Berryman. Um, I'm really excited. He was at Scarefest last year and I ran low on funds and didn't get to go. So I'm really excited about the prospect, of getting to meet him this time. So there'll probably be a lot of YouTubers talking about their Scarefest experiences when they get back. Piz and all the Region Free guys will be there. Flesh Wound features and visited by voices too. Oh, well, it'll be good to see Piz out there. Hopefully, I'll get to see him. Sometimes I don't even know. I don't mean to miss people, but I don't even realize in the amount of people that are there that people I know are there until they come up and say, "Hey, Dana," I'm hoping maybe I'll see Justin Ryan there, and some of the other more familiar faces. So, with all that being said, I officially went over 2 minutes. Almost at 12 minutes, 2 minutes past when I said I would. But with all of that being said, I want to thank all you guys. We got about 10 people in here. I almost hate to go. Well, 9 now. I almost hate to go with that many people in there because that's a lot for me. I don't know that I'm ever going to get to the number of people that like Dead Pit has. Probably not. But, again, I like these little bit smaller groups because I'm able to interact more with all of you. that way. Um, you have a good one too, Darren. I had 12 the other day. That's probably about the largest amount I have, maybe 12, 13. I don't know if I've ever had 15 or not. I try to keep an eye on the amount. Now we went back up to 10. But I want to thank everybody that was in here tonight. I thought that the discussion was really good. And Darren has encouraged me to rewatch The Slayer. Um, Darren, you say I should print flyers for the con about my channel. Yeah, I don't know if they would allow me to lay them out though, since I'm pretty much an unknown entity. I guess I could look into that. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say, hey y'all, had some shit go down, gone few days. Love you all. Oh, well, we love you too, old Curly Jaws. I'm sorry that you had some stuff going on that wasn't too good. Well, thank you, old Curly Jaws. I created this hat. Well, I didn't make the hat myself, but I did sew the patch on. But thank you very much. Um, and good night, DJ. You say trick or treats, LOL. Okay, with all of that being said, this gal is going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I will see all of you guys on the flip side. And aren't you proud of me for wearing my hat the whole time? So, y'all have a good night now.